I'm so stressed out. I'm so stressed out. I can't even find my microphone. Oh man, oh Lord, help me out. I'm so stressed out. I just can't keep up. Well, come on, somebody, this week. We're going to figure it out. It's Online Donkey Kong.
Todd is not only a remarkable, successful 30-year titan in business with having multiple businesses that generate multiplied millions of dollars.
And if that plan happens to be to build $1 million company, which I can help you do.
But he's humble. He's a man of God. He's a family man.
The world's news organizations are built on everything but positivity.
He is an influential entrepreneur and business speaker for over 30 years.
I've got to forecast. I've got to pronounce. I've got to project. I've got to share with you my ideas, my vision, my goals for not only myself, but for you.
That's why he came up with his incredible concept of taking and creating a platform for people that are wired differently.
And you got to understand that your habits of your person and your habits of your business and your habits of your spirituality have to lead to the North Star of who you are. We need to figure out who we want to be in life.
Got to figure out who we want to be in life. I've said that a couple times, like maybe 145 times. If you go to my podcast, Spotify or iTunes, you'll see I've got almost 145 podcasts. We're cranking them out every day, every morning without stop. You can't stop this freight train. Good morning, everybody. Good day, everybody. Good afternoon from all over the world. I just want to thank you for your support. We have people chiming in from Trinidad and the Bermudan Islands, all the places. But America, I love you, America. So thank you for getting up with me in the mornings. I think it's a great, great thing that we're here to serve God. We're here to serve our families. We're here to serve our businesses and our employees and all the things that we got going on. But man, I got to tell you, Friday, I put together this idea of what we're going to talk about this entire week. And it's funny how kind of my stories or my messages really take steam. And I got in a little trouble this morning from my wife. It's about 4:00 in the morning and the alarm goes off. And I know that this is a problem. I know that this whole alarm thing is a problem every morning. I don't technically need an alarm. I say that, but I always have one just to make sure that I don't miss the, I'm not going to ever miss the show, but it's this every morning stress or this every morning process that I do to create the show. And my wife says, well, why do you have to get up at 4 a.m? And I don't blame her. I don't blame her for one bit. I'm honestly, I'm stressed out over this. We had a conversation where she's never yelled. She's not that person. Matter of fact, she's put up with me for almost 40 years. And this morning thing of the last, 3-4 years has been trying for her because she wants to sleep. She's a sleeper. I may be out there are sleepers that you really love to sleep. You love to sleep and you work real hard and your reward for life is sleep. That's my wife. She's awesome. Her pay is sleep, and I've got to start paying attention a little bit. So listen, we're kind of morphing into a topic that's a little interesting, but I just want to give you a piece of my life that is stressful because what we're going to talk about today is I just can't keep up, right? Burn out or burn bright, right? What are we going to do this morning, Debbie, Jan, Joe, Mark, Abby, Terry, Tracy, Heather, everybody? Listen, what are we going to do? Are we going to burn out or are we going to burn bright? And so I had this whole topic I have already set up. We're going to talk about this. We're definitely going to do it. You cannot perform on an empty cup. I'm sorry, you can't pour out of an empty cup. I want you to remember that little quote for you to think about yourself is like, if you want to pour out of yourself, if you want to give to others, your cup can't be empty. And so that's the premise of the show, really, this whole week, is how are we going to be able to pour out on others? And how are we actually even going to be able to drink from a cup for ourselves if it's empty? And so, when I talk about personal growth, spiritual growth, and profitable growth, I really felt like the impetus of this whole week should be on more so personal growth. We spend a lot of time on spiritual growth, and don't get me wrong, we're never going to not spend time on spiritual growth. But I want you to hear me loud and clear that personal growth is really, really, really important. And so when I heard the quote, you can't pour from an empty cup, I was challenged. Chad gets mad because I worry about too much about what I look like. Well, normally when I get mic'd up or he mics me up, he makes sure I look good. Well, I don't have him every morning and I get on in these chords. So anyways, so my thought was, okay, you can't pour out of an empty cup. Well, I'm thinking, well, I know I can't pour out of an empty cup. My cup's empty. I can't pour out of it. Well, here's the other deal. I can't drink from an empty cup. And I have to drink before I can pour. I have to be able to bring something inside of me so I can give it out. I have to bring something inside of me so I can give it out. And so this whole morning kind of just takes this whole loop. I'm up at 4 and I set the alarm. I'm already up, but I have a security alarm that goes up. I didn't hit the alarm fast enough. And oh man, I get this what are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm like, I can't find the alarm. She goes, hit the button. I can't see the iPhone alarm because I don't have my glasses on. And it's just like this torrid a mess of stressful morning circumstance, happenstance, catastrophic. She's so cool. I do my routine. I get up, I go to another room, I start to study, I start to move around, and I'm like, what are we going to do? And I pull up the scripture. I pull up the scripture this morning, which is Matthew 6:25. Matthew 6:25. And I have this entire show already set up to be these 5 things to not burn yourself out, right? And they are nutrition, rest, exercise, family, and recreation. Nutrition, rest, exercise, family, recreation, and nutrition. I got all 5 of those. And so we're going to talk about those this week. How do we keep ourselves from burning out and so that we can burn up, so we can burn bright? And we're going to take nutrition, rest, exercise, family, recreation. We're going to say, okay, these are the 5 things we're going to focus on. And so here we go. It's Monday morning. I get up, hit the alarm, can't get to the alarm quick enough. My wife challenges me on not trying hard enough at 4 in the morning. I can't find it. My eyes are burning because my glasses aren't on. I can't. So finally I get it. I get up, get out of bed. I start to study. And I'm already stressed. I feel like, man, I've burdened this beautiful person. And I know I'm in a little trouble this morning, and I'm stressed. I got to have a solution. Anybody out there, I got to have a solution. How do I set an alarm so that it doesn't wake her up so she can enjoy her rest? Because rest is like number 2 on the list of things we're going to be talking about. Terry, teach me about your sister. She's intimidating at 4 in the morning when she's not getting her rest. Come on now, somebody. Tracy, we're going to fix that. I don't want the additional stress on you. I don't want the additional stress on me of what's going on in life. And so when I put this together, I thought, well, let's talk about these 5 topics: nutrition, rest, exercise, family, and recreation. And we're going to kind of pick on rest today because rest, we're going to put that first on that list of 5 of this week. But what I can't teach you about rest, I can't explain to you if I don't talk to you about stress. So stress is probably, I didn't look this statistic up. I looked a lot of statistics up. Stress is probably the biggest killer in the world, let alone America. And so before we can burn bright, right, instead of burning out on the 5 topics: nutrition, let's go over the other: rest, nutrition, exercise, family, recreation. Someone help me out on here. Rest, nutrition, exercise, family, recreation. Rest, nutrition, exercise, family, recreation. Who's going to give somebody a prize if they get all that right? I felt like we need to talk about stress before we can talk about the rest of these, because we can't burn bright. We will definitely burn out if we do not understand stress. And so it's funny how then the verse comes up, and here's another question to Tracy's question. Why can't you prepare at 9:00 at night? Well, I don't want to prepare at 9:00 at night. I work all day long. I'm phone, email, texting, just on and on and on and on. Parenting, life, adult parenting. I mean, when I want to go to bed, I want my rest. I want to go to bed at 9, 10 o'clock. And so the other thing is I can't lead. I want to know what God's got for me in the morning. And so I throw this fleece out there and the Bible verse comes up, and that's how I actually challenge myself in faith and in how everything's supposed to work in my life as far as the show is supposed to go. But here the topic is this idea of burning bright, not out. And I get this Bible verse for the day. Okay, so everybody write this down. Matthew 6:25 is actually the Bible verse. And here's what it says. So I tell you to stop worrying about what you will eat, drink, or wear. Isn't life more than food and the body more than the clothing? And so I'm immediately challenged because I got 5 things here: nutrition, rest, exercise, family records. I got my whole week set up, right? I got like if anything, my wife is correct. I'm in church. I'm putting things together in my mind, listening to the pastor, doing a great job. And I got this idea how I'm going to run this whole week. I got all planned out. And then all of a sudden, the verse I get in the morning says this: therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink. I got nutrition on my list. Not about your body. I got exercise on my list. And then, or what you will wear. I got family and recreation on my list, right? So God's telling me not to worry about those things, right? And I've got 3 of those 5 right on my list. And I'm like, man, how am I going to spin this? Stress. How am I gonna spin this? God has called me. I felt to talk about nutrition, rest, exercise, family, and recreation. And the verse he gives me for today is: do not worry about your clothes. Do not worry about your exercise. Do not even worry about what you eat. And and I'm like, what are you saying, God? I know that life is what life is, and I want my friends and family to burn bright, not bright out, right out. So I know that they need to work in these areas to burn bright, not to burn out. But I really believe that he gave me that verse because he says, I think you're correct in all that, but I want you to understand this verse that I'm giving you today is a precursor to burning bright. A precursor to not burning out. This is before you get to the 5 things that are going to grow your life and make you abundantly healthier, right? And burning bright. I need you to read this. Yes, God. Therefore, I tell you, do not to worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, Todd. I know you weigh yourself twice a day, or even what you will wear. Is not life more important than food, and the body more important than clothes? Verse 26 is past this, and then he says, goes on to straighten me out even further. He says, look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in the barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than even a bird? Who of you by worrying can add but a single hour to his life? And so here's what I want you to understand is that what we're talking about today is not going to be nutrition, rest, nutrition, exercise, family, recreation, because that's how I want you to burn bright in a personal growth way. I want to talk to you about what God's saying to get right before we even try to burn bright in these 5 areas. What do we do first? I want you to watch this video, kind of set the stage here. Let's pull this guy up here. I thought it was pretty interesting.
This is not a part of you. You get stressful because you do not know how to handle your mind. Now you're a student. Being a student is stressful. If you don't find employment when you come out of the college, that is stressful. If you get a job, even more stressful. If you don't get married, that is very stressful. If you get married, I don't want to say anything. It is not your job or your life situations which are stressful. No attention has been paid as to how to handle this mind, how to handle this emotion, how to handle this body, how to handle these energies. Nothing has been done about it. You're managing such a sophisticated system accidentally. If this happened the way you want it, you wouldn't be stressful.
So I just thought that was ideal for today because it kind of brings in this idea of stress. It even brings my marriage into play. And I'm not supposed to be making jokes about it, so I'm not going to make jokes about it. But I'm just going to tell you, man, stress is real. Stress, we have to understand stress happens, right? Stress is the biggest part of I would tell you, at least my life, stress is a big part of my life. And honestly, I wanted to just take you through this idea of stress in the last 10 or 15 minutes we have here and just double down on what God was meaning here, because I walked into this message thinking I was going to tell you how to do recreation and family and exercise and even rest, which I'm horrible at, and nutrition, which I'm really not that good at. I'm trying to be good at exercise, which I used to be great at, which I'm not so good at, and family, which I've been trying my whole life to be great at, and recreation, which I'm not very good at either. So I'm really the wrong guy to talk about all 5 of these, but I am the right guy to challenge you on every one of these. I get part of every one of them right. And I was thinking about why I'm not getting more of them right is because I'm looking at Matthew 6:25 incorrectly. God says, before you get all that stuff right, Todd, I want you to stop worrying. Doesn't matter. Have you ever woke up and walked out on the street with no clothes? Have you ever woke up and not had enough food? Have you ever woke up and had not somebody around you? Have you ever woke up and never had something to eat? Have you ever woke up and not had at least a glass of water available or coffee, right? Have you ever not? When have I ever failed you in all these disciplines? So why worry? Stop worrying. Don't you understand the stress will kill you? I have come here to take your stress. So for me to give you personal growth, entertainment, personal growth, education, for me to give you personal growth, anything, I've got to admit my own flaws. I've got to admit that the spiritual side of this is calling me to do it. And then I think we can become profitable in this area. Now, remember, profitability isn't just all money. Matter of fact, I would probably tell you that most of my shows and everything I talk to you about, profitability isn't completely or even based on money. If you ask me to coach you in your business, you will become more profitable. I guarantee that. You watch the show, you'll become more profitable in something. I guarantee it. Only because I'm preaching God's word, and God is guaranteed profits if we listen to his word. So I'm listening his words by sharing the gospel, sharing his word, sharing what's been called on me every morning at 4 o'clock when the alarm goes off. My wife's not happy about it because she has every right not to be happy about it. We got to change that. I got you, Tracy. But at the end of the day, that's why I'm guaranteeing you profitability in this show. I'm not, God is, because I'm giving you God's word. So let's just talk about this stress thing for a moment. Let's bring some things to the forefront on a Monday morning, Restoration Monday morning. Because we're going to set up these recreation, family, exercise, rest, nutrition things that we need to do. And we're going to have some fun with it. But I'm going to give you a list here. I got a list here in front of me. Stress goes and comes. I want you to understand that stress goes and comes. Generally, stress leaves us. Yeah. Friday, we talked about the movie Blue Lagoon. And these kids were stranded on a deserted island. Couldn't find their way off. Finally found their way off, and by accident in a boat, and had a little baby, and 15-year-old kids, and the baby ate some berries and they thought it was dead. And they were so hopeless. They were so depressed, right? They were so stressed that they just didn't see any way out. So they ate the berries to possibly pass with their child. And the berries were a metaphor for stress, not really killing yourself. But I do want you to understand, I don't want you to get near the berries. I don't want you to be that stressed. I don't want you to be on a deserted island. I don't want you to be on a boat floating around thinking you're hopeless. But nonetheless, it creates stress. So here's what we got. So stress goes and comes, and when it goes away, your stress goes away. When the problem goes away, it goes away. But chronic stress is this, that stress keeps, you create your own stress. You put yourself in these positions. You don't let things go. You don't let things lie. You don't let things pass. Stress is something that I have to work on. We all have to work on. Some of us only feel comfortable when we're in a crisis or stress. But let me just give you 10 things that stress creates in your life. 10 facts about coping with stress and what could happen from stress. I'm just going to go through these really simply. You don't have to write these down or anything. If you're carrying around stress, you're carrying around chronic stress, here's what the problems can arise. It causes it causes acne, personal growth. Number 2, causes sickness. It breaks down your immunity system. Chronic stress breaks down your immunity system, in and out of stress, chronically in and out of stress. Causes gut and digestive issues. Gluten intolerance, digestive challenges, diarrhea, stomach upsets. Causes memory failure, stress. I know that sometimes when my show isn't going right, especially in the beginning, and I'm stressing out, I can't even think of certain names that should be right in my head. I can't think about certain things because I have memory failure during that stressful moment, right? And that's one thing you have to train yourself as an athlete or a warrior or in your craft is that those autonomic things have to come up to you, right? They have to happen regardless of your stressful nature, how you cope with stress. We're never going to get away from stress, but we need to understand what we're putting ourselves into stress with. Number 5, causes lower life expectancy. You're not going to live as long. Just the way it is. Some stress is good. Here's number 6 is what I want to share with you. Some stress actually can be good. It's called eustress. Eustress, E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S. E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S, eustress. And that's the kind of stress that you put yourself in that would actually grow you. An example is, let's say you go out on a first date and you're stressed out over what you're going to wear and all the things you're going to do and the fact he's going to pick you up or she's going to come by or however that's going, you pick her up or whatever the deal is, you're stressed. But after you go through that date and it's great, like mine was with Tracy, I was euphoric. I was high. I was happy. I'm like, oh man, I did it. She liked me. Right? Or you go to what is it called? Tracy knows the name. Pottersfield Village over there in Orlando, Paramount Studios and all that. There's a place called for Pottersfield, and they got this roller coaster there that I really liked, and I really liked the green beer that they gave, the ginger beer that they gave you. That was a cocktail that the Harry Potter made on his. I don't know. I never watched the show, but the Wonderland there is amazing. The entertainment park there is amazing. But I decided to ride that roller coaster, and I was really nervous to get on that roller coaster because it looked like it could kill somebody. It looked deathly, but everybody looked like they're having fun. So I got on the roller coaster, and before I got on it, I had eustress. But when I finished, I'm like, yeah, I was screaming, going down, and I got done. I got off, and I was euphoric. Eustress, euphoric. I got done with the date with my wife at 8 when she canceled her other date to go on a date with me. And when I was done, I went back to my roommate, Bobby, and I said, man, we did it. She liked me. She liked me. I was euphoric. Think about that. I mean, stress is a killer, but the right kind of stress can help us burn bright. Number 7, makes you physically sick. Stress can make you physically sick. Headaches, dizziness, right? Number 8, this one, it can dampen your sex drive. Nobody wants that. It can make you not think correctly. It can not make you feel right. It gives you this fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. When we're stressed, something happens to our autonomic nervous system and creates this fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? Fight or flight, freeze or fawn. Flight or fight, freeze or fawn. If you're stressed out, you're either going to fight or flight. You're either going to face it or you're going to run from it. If you're totally stressed out, you're either going to freeze and not know what to think or say, or you just become so apologetic that you fawn all over. Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Oh, yeah, that's what was going on. Oh, yeah, I think I'll go with that. I don't want to make that decision. Yeah, he's right. You're right. Everybody's right. Oh, aren't they perfect? Aren't they great? They got it all figured out, right? That's the fawning, right? Fight or flight, or freeze or fawn, right? That's some of the things, byproducts of stress. Your allergies could get worse, and in females, your menstrual cycle could be affected. So stress is no joke, my friends. And I just wanted you to know that in Matthew 6:25, so I tell you to stop worrying about what you will eat or drink or wear. Isn't life more than food, and body and more than even clothing? God says, I fed the birds. I've kept them warm and dry. Won't I even take care of you, right? And so I really feel compelled this morning, obviously, to apologize to my wife for the 4 a.m. Hebach and my commitment to figure that out. So anyone can give me some ideas out there on how to get up in the morning at 4 a.m. I was thinking maybe some type of vibrating wristband or something like that. But I want to talk to you about this idea of not worrying and not being stressed. I just can't keep up. I want you to burn bright, not burn out. A few other statistics I wanted you to understand about stress is one that 16% of all chronically stressed people harm themselves. Harm themselves, right? 16% of all chronically stressed people, meaning that they go in and out of stress often or almost all the time, they end up harming themselves. 32% of them have suicidal thoughts, right? And we were talking a little bit about that yesterday. We don't want you to get into that hopeless moment. Stress creates hopelessness, creates the body to do all the 10 things that we just talked about. And 37 of them reported feeling lonely. So 37% out of all the people that are chronically stressed or in stress a lot of the time feel lonely. They feel like they actually harm themselves, and or they actually have suicidal thoughts. So 85% of 100% of stressed out people are affected in harming, suicidal thoughts, or lonely. So there's really no escaping stress in the byproducts of stress. 85% of you are going to be feeling something. So statistically, you're on this call right now, and I can see a lot of people on this call this morning. So statistically, over 50% of America is stressed. So over 50% of you are 85% have thought about harming yourself, had even suicidal thoughts, and or are feeling lonely right now. So even though we don't have thousands of people on this call this morning, I guarantee you someone's feeling this way out there. I guarantee you someone's out there feeling lonely, maybe even had some stupid thoughts, and has actually even harmed themselves through stress actions by getting sick, or even the things that go on in that regards. And so this week we're going to talk about burning bright, not burning out. But I really wanted to address God's Matthew 6:25 here and explain to everybody that we have got to manage stress before we can manage any of these other things, because we're going to carry stress into everything that we go into. Everything we go into. So I want you to understand how important that is, and I want you to understand how much I care about you. I want you to understand how life is going to move us through this, and we're going to do this thing called life together, right? We're going to have some fun with it. So I want you to take on stress. I want you to understand that stress is something that we all deal with. It's something that we have to take head on. And there's a quote I had last week that motivation is an inside job, right? Motivation is an inside job. And now that we know that most of America suffers from a version of stress, all of it is bad except for the possibility of eustress, then let's deal with it now. Let's deal with it. What can we change? Not tomorrow or next week. What in our life can we let go of? What can we just say, hey, I've had enough of this. I need to stop this stress. I have to stop this chronic stress. What of it in our life can we stop? I know what I'm doing in my business life. I know where my gut is full. I know where I am stressed. I know where I am stressed in my life. I have taken the time, not even this morning, but even the last 3 months of my life, I've said I am changing some major things in my life because I am too stressed. My stomach hurts. I've lost weight in many ways. I have forced myself to do things differently. I've had stress in life, in business, in marriage, and family, and children, and parents, and all these things. I mean, it's just been too much. I want you to understand that at some point, just because you're stressed and you're working 24/7 doesn't make you a great person, doesn't even make you successful. I'm not saying I didn't bust my ass for the most of my life and that you're not supposed to bust your ass for the most of your life, but I'm also telling you that you have to be healthy. If you're not healthy, you can't even show up to the game. What good is it to actually work out every day harder than anybody else, get the goal, get the game, get the win, and then at the Super Bowl, you hurt yourself doing an extra rep in the gym and you can't even play in the damn game? I mean, that's the first thing they'll teach you in training, in higher athletics and scholastics and those types of things when they're teaching you how to compete and how to win the race. It's like, you got to stay healthy. You can't compete if you're injured. And that's where we're at in the later days in our lives. I have to stay healthy for all of my family. There's too much being counted on me to provide in many, many ways for a lot of people. I have to stay healthy. I cannot risk everything on every endeavor anymore. And I don't know that you can either. So let's figure out how we can burn bright, not burn out on nutrition, rest, exercise, family, recreation. And that's how I want to coach you. That's how I'm going to teach you. I'm going to show you how to do this and enjoy life personally, spiritually, and profitably. I'm super proud of you guys. Motivation is an inside job. And what I'm calling you today is to tell you that your success will only be affected by your discipline and your inside intentions, your inside actions. Motivation is an inside job. I'm your coach, and I want to motivate you, and I got some strategies for you. Right? How can I pour from an empty cup? Let me help you this week.